Hey there, and welcome to your personalized deep dive.
Oh, cool.
Today,
Sounds fun.
we're tackling something
Okay.
that might seem pretty basic at first, speaking English effectively.
Right.
We're going way beyond simple grammar rules today.
Oh, wow.
We're really going to explore some fascinating aspects of how to master the language.
That's awesome. I'm excited to dive into this.
Yeah, me too. And you know what really struck me?
What's that?
The guide emphasizes this power of simplicity.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, it might sound counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But starting with really basic words and phrases,
Okay.
that's actually the key to building a strong foundation.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's like you're not going to get bogged down in all these crazy grammar rules right away.
Right.
Just focus on those high-frequency verbs.
Like what?
Well, you know, like be, have, do, say, get, make, go.
Yeah, those are good ones.
All those common ones.
Yeah, you can say a lot with those.
That's the thing.
Like, think about get. You can obtain something, you can understand something, you can become something, you can arrive.
It's so versatile.
It is. It's like a Swiss Army knife of verbs.
Totally. It's not just about memorizing a list. It's about understanding how to actually use those words.
Exactly. Nuance is key.
For sure. And then there's that whole subject-verb-object order.
Right, the backbone of English sentences.
Yeah. You know, I drink coffee. She reads books.
Simple but essential.
So essential. And then we move on to those question words.
Ah, yes, the interrogative pronouns.
Who, what, when, where, why, how.
Like the journalist's toolkit?
It really is. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
These are the words that are going to drive most of our interactions.
They're how we get information.
Exactly. And what's interesting here is it's not just about memorizing those words.
Right, you got to understand the nuances.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like when to use who versus whom.
Or why versus how come.
Right. It can really make a difference.
Subtleties matter.
It's like having the right tools and knowing when to use them.
Exactly. And speaking of tools, we can't forget about verb tenses.
Oh, yes. This is where things can get a little tricky.
A little tricky indeed.
For English language learners especially.
Yeah, but the guide breaks it down pretty well.
It does. It does. So it starts with the present tense.
The here and now.
Right now.
Actions happening right now. General truths, habits.
Like, I am speaking English.
Or the sun rises in the east.
Simple examples, but they get the point across.
They do. They illustrate how the present tense can be used for both immediate actions and ongoing states.
Right. And you really need to master both the simple present and the present continuous.
Absolutely.
Worship.
One for those general truths and habits, and the other for actions happening at this very moment.
So present continuous, that's where we add the ing.
Exactly. I am walking. They are eating.
And don't forget those helper verbs.
Oh, yes. Am, is, are. They're crucial.
It's all about those little details that really make you sound fluent.
They do. They elevate your English.
So we've got the present tense down.
Check.
But the guide doesn't stop there, does it?
Not at all. We've got the past and the future to explore as well.
Oh boy.
But don't worry, the guide keeps it manageable.
Okay, good.
It focuses on the most practical ways to express past and future actions.
So for the past tense, what do we got?
The simple past tense for completed actions,
Like, I ate breakfast?
or she went to the store,
Things that have already happened, finished,
done and dusted.
and for the future.
Ah, the future. This is where it gets interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
The guide suggests using the present continuous tense, but with a future time marker.
Whoa, that's a neat trick.
It is. It's simple but effective.
So instead of saying, I will meet a friend tomorrow,
You'd say, I am meeting a friend tomorrow.
that's really interesting.
It is. It flows naturally and avoids those complex future tense structures.
I like it. It's all about finding those clever shortcuts.
Absolutely. And you know, it's amazing how much you can express in English just by mastering these basic tenses.
It really is. It's like unlocking a whole new level of communication.
It is. And the guide emphasizes starting with these foundational tenses before moving on to the more complex stuff.
It's like you got to learn to walk before you can run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Build that solid foundation.
And once you have that foundation, you can start adding all those colorful details.
Ah, yes, the world of adjectives.
Those descriptive words that bring our language to life.
They paint pictures with words.
And the guide points out a key difference between English and a lot of other languages.
What's that?
The placement of those adjectives.
Oh, right. In English, they come before the noun.
Blue sky, not sky blue.
It's a small but important distinction.
It can trip people up.
It definitely can. And it gets even more interesting when you have multiple adjectives.
Oh yeah, like a whole string of them.
There's actually a specific order you're supposed to follow.
Wait, really? There's like a secret code for adjectives.
Kind of. The guide highlights 8 types of adjectives, and they have a specific order.
I need to know this code.
Okay, so we have opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, and purpose.
Okay, I'm trying to visualize this.
So imagine you have a beautiful, large, antique, round, brown, Italian wooden dining table.
Okay, my brain just exploded.
But notice how the adjectives follow that order.
Opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, purpose.
You got it. Wow, that's fascinating.
It might seem fussy at first, but it makes the language flow smoothly.
It's like a linguistic puzzle.
It is. And solving it can really elevate your English.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked a lot about grammar and sentence structure.
Right, the building blocks of language.
But we can't forget about pronunciation.
Ah, yes, the key to being understood.
And this is where things can get really tricky for English language learners.
So many sounds.
Yeah.
So many rules, so many exceptions.
It's enough to make your head spin.
But the guide offers some good advice.
Like what?
Well, it emphasizes pronouncing the last sounds in words,
Oh, yeah. Those can get lost sometimes.
especially if your native language doesn't emphasize them.
Right. But those final sounds are crucial for conveying meaning.
Absolutely. Like the word streets,
Streets.
that TS sound at the end distinguishes it from street, right? Small detail, but big difference.
Exactly. Clarity is key.
And what about those tricky noun-verb pairs?
Oh, yes. The ones that sound the same but have different stress patterns.
Present.
Exactly. You can have a pre-sent or you can pre-sent something.
It's amazing how a shift in stress can completely change the meaning.
It really is. And mastering those stress patterns is key to sounding more natural.
Like you're really in the flow.
Exactly. And the guide points out that most nouns in English have the stress on the first syllable.
Like table, window, kitchen.
It's like a little rhythm.
I love that. It's like English has its own musicality.
It does. And speaking of sounding natural, we also need to talk about dialects.
Oh, right. English isn't just English, is it?
Not at all. We have American English, British English, Australian English, and so on.
And it's not just about the accents.
Nope. Vocabulary and pronunciation can vary too.
Give me an example.
Well, in British English, you might hear someone say, put the kettle on for tea.
But in American English, it's put the tea kettle on. It's fascinating how these little variations creep in.
They do. They add a layer of cultural richness to the language.
And being aware of those variations can help you understand people from different parts of the world.
It's all about being a more culturally sensitive communicator.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground so far,
We have. We've explored the foundations of spoken English.
but we're just getting started,
There's still so much more to discover.
especially when it comes to actually immersing yourself in the language.
That's where the real magic happens.
I can't wait to dive into those practical tips and strategies in the next part of our deep dive.
Me neither. It's going to be exciting. You know, one thing I really like about this guide?
Yeah.
It doesn't just stop at the theory.
Uh-huh.
It gives you tons of practical advice.
For actually immersing yourself.
Right, putting it all into practice.
Okay, so where do we start?
Well, it says surround yourself with the language as much as possible.
Okay.
Like label things around your house.
With their English names.
Yeah. Put a note on your fridge that says refrigerator.
I like it.
Lamp on your lamp.
Yeah. Turn your whole house into a learning tool.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to talk to native speakers.
Yeah, that can be intimidating.
It can be.
Mm.
But that's where finding the right resources comes in.
Okay, so what kind of resources are we talking?
Well, there are tons of websites and apps and even YouTube channels.
Oh, yeah. YouTube's amazing for language learning.
It is, right? There are videos on everything from grammar to pronunciation.
I love how accessible it is.
Me too.
Yeah.
And you can learn at your own pace.
Yeah. Find what works for you.
Exactly. And then there's also the option of working with a tutor.
Like one-on-one.
Yeah. Or even joining a conversation group.
That's a good idea.
Right. It's all about finding opportunities to actually use the language.
And don't forget about entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
Movies, TV shows, music books.
That's the fun part.
It is. You can actually enjoy yourself while you're learning.
Exactly. And the key is to start with material that's right for your level.
So beginners might want to start with kids' books or shows.
Right. Something easy to understand.
And then you can gradually work your way up.
To more challenging stuff.
And even if you come across words you don't know,
Try to figure them out from context.
instead of always reaching for the dictionary.
Right. It's a good way to build your vocabulary.
And for TV shows, you can always record them and pause.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, so you can really dissect the dialogue.
Oh, like slow it down.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's a great tip.
And music can be really helpful too.
Especially pop songs with catchy lyrics.
You find yourself singing along without even realizing you're learning.
It's true,
It-
and it's fun.
So fun. And you can also pay attention to how native speakers pronounce things.
Their rhythm and intonation.
Yeah. It's not just about individual words.
It's about the overall flow of the language.
Exactly. And the guide also says to practice speaking out loud.
Even if it's just to yourself.
Get those mouth muscles working.
It's like a workout for your tongue.
Totally. And the more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
Absolutely. Practice makes perfect.
Now, we've talked a lot about external resources.
The things you can use to help you learn. But the guide also talks about something really interesting.
What's that?
The power of thinking in English.
Whoa, that's next level.
It is. It's about making that mental shift.
From translating everything.
To actually thinking in the language itself.
That sounds hard.
It can be. But the guide gives some tips.
Like what?
Well, it says start small.
Don't try to do it all at once.
Right. Maybe just try thinking in English for a few minutes each day.
Like while you're getting ready in the morning.
Or while you're drinking dinner.
Yeah, those are good times.
And the more you practice, the more natural it will become.
It's like training your brain.
And once you start thinking in English speaking, it will become much easier.
It's like you're removing a barrier.
That's a great way to put it.
It's about becoming one with the language.
And that's the ultimate goal,
or
right?
fluency.
Yeah. Where English feels like second nature.
It takes time and effort, though.
It does. But it's so worth it. I'm really loving this guide.
Me too. It's full of great advice.
And what I really appreciate is how it emphasizes making language learning enjoyable.
Yeah. It's not supposed to be a chore.
Exactly. It should be fun.
It should be. And it should be personal.
Yeah. Find what works for you.
Exactly. Everyone learns differently.
And that's a great message to take with us as we move into the final part of our deep dive.
I'm excited to see what else the guide has in store for us.
So as we're wrapping up our deep dive into speaking English effectively, it's amazing how much we've covered.
It is, right?
Yeah. From basic grammar to pronunciation to the power of immersion.
I feel like we've really gone deep.
Yeah. And all these pieces, they fit together
like a puzzle.
Yeah. But even more than that, like a symphony.
Oh, I like that.
You've got all these different instruments.
Yeah.
And they all play their part.
To create something beautiful.
Exactly. But you know what else you need?
What's that?
A conductor.
Ah, to bring it all together.
Yeah. And in the case of language learning,
the learner is the conductor.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. It's up to you to shape your own journey.
So how do we do that? How do we become that conductor?
Well, the guide talks about setting realistic goals.
Okay.
And having a personalized learning plan.
Makes sense.
Right. It's about figuring out what works for you.
So what's a good first step?
We'll start with a self-assessment.
Okay.
What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses?
Uh-huh.
Maybe you're good at reading, but not so good at pronunciation.
Or maybe you're great with grammar, but need to work on vocabulary.
Exactly.
Okay, so once you figure that out, then what?
Well, then you can start setting goals.
Like specific goals.
Yeah, things you can actually achieve.
Not just, I want to be fluent.
Right, that's too broad.
Yeah.
So break it down into smaller steps.
Like learn 10 new words this week.
Or master the present perfect tense.
Okay, those are much more manageable.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
With different learning methods.
Yeah, some people like classrooms, some people like apps.
Find what works for you.
Exactly.
And be consistent.
That's key. Even a few minutes a day can make a big difference.
It's like anything else. The more you practice, the better you get.
For sure. And don't forget to celebrate your successes.
Oh, yeah, those little wins.
They'll keep you motivated.
It's like a little pat on the back.
And remember, fluency is a journey, not a destination.
It's ongoing.
There's always something new to learn.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
And I'm definitely inspired to keep working on my English.
That's great to hear.
Remember, everyone learning a language is a journey.
It has its ups and downs.
But it's so rewarding.
It really is.
And it opens up a whole world of possibilities.
New people, new cultures, new experiences.
Absolutely.
So keep exploring, keep practicing, keep learning.
And most importantly, have fun.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.